You're talking about North Texas and your days in Corp. I want to actually go back to your days in Corp,
Okay.
and it seemed to me, yeah, I never marched Corps. I have a lot of friends who did. I thought about it, but I just didn't have the cash to do it. So, it's like, I can either, work this summer and make money or go play and not make money. So I chose to work. But with Core, a lot of the guys that I know that have come out of it and that are still playing, they're playing at a professional level. A lot of them do express how the esprit de corps really has been beneficial to them in terms of their musicality. Being part of a bigger team, being part of an ensemble, and understanding your role in that. Who did you march with, and how did your days in the Corps influence you as a player and as a person?
Well, I marched in two drum corps. The first one was a feeder corps for the bigger corps. Excuse me. There's in Racine, Wisconsin. I'm from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and 10 miles north of Kenosha is a city called Racine, which at that time they labeled themselves the drum corps capital of the world.
Ah, yes.
And there was a lot of drum corps going on in Wisconsin in the early 70s, mm-hmm. and in the 70s and 60s, and the Kilties were a very highly competitive junior drum bugle corps. Competed really well with Santa Clara Vanguard, the Blue Devils, and all of that back in the early 70s. The Troopers, Chicago Cavaliers, and the Madison Scouts, and all of that stuff. We were that corps was, no joke, man. They were always right in there, if not winning. And they had a feeder corps called the Kilty Cadets. And they were for kids from 10 to 14 years old. And then once you're 14, you could join the Kilties, which was a group from 14 to 21 years old. And so before I was born, my father formed a drum and bugle corps in Kenosha, Wisconsin for guys over 21 called the Kenosha Kingsmen. And he was a founding member of that, him and his buddy, John Vagnoni. They were pals from childhood, and they both got drafted into Korea and made a pact that if they made it out alive, they would form a drum and bugle corps, which they did. And so my first memories growing up were watching them rehearse, listening to them rehearse, marching with them when somebody couldn't make it. And by the time I was 10 years old, I wanted to play a bugle so bad I couldn't stand it. And I wanted to be just like those guys. And so I joined the Kilty Cadets, and I marched with them for 4 years. And about a year and a half into that, I started playing trumpet. I played bugle before I played trumpet. I was going to a Catholic school, and they didn't have a band program. So I left the Catholic school and went into the public school system to learn trumpet. And that story is told in 4 verses on the first track of my album.
Yes.
Not So Old School, and the song's called Gonna Be Fine. And basically everything I'm telling you here is in that song.
It's a great song, by the way, if you haven't heard. And it's a great CD, album, whatever you want to call it these days, whatever the kids are calling it these days. It's great. But that track especially, I mean, that to me, it spoke to me in so many different ways. So
yeah, I can thank Wally Minko and Gary Grant for a lot of help putting that together. But when I was 15, I was able to join the Kilties, and I marched with them for 1 year. And we went to the DCI, which was in its 3rd year of existence. And it was a big trip for us from Wisconsin to Ithaca, New York for Cornell University. And I think we placed 4th in prelims out of, 60 drum corps or something at that time. And we were poised, man. We were only a few points back, and we thought we could win it all. And we ended up going overtime in the finals and ended up taking 6th. And it was awful. And I'd spent, at 15 years old, I spent 1/3 of my life in drum corps and the other 2/3 around it, with, the business meetings going on in the basement with my dad's corps and all the rehearsing. And, it was my entire life, and we had a shot at it, and we didn't make it, man. And it was pretty devastating. At the same time that happened, I was marching in the marching band in high school, and a very dear friend of mine who I went to high school with is John Fumo, great trumpet player here in Los Angeles. He was a couple of years older than me while still in high school, and he recommended, I asked him, how do I get more jazz into my playing? I feel like I play real square. How do I get, and he said he goes to Jamie Aebersold clinics. And so I said, well, that's what I'm going to do then, because that's what you do. Because he was on such a, I put him on such a pedestal. He was such a great trumpet player so early. And so that I knew would conflict with the following year's DCI in August. And so I quit drum corps. And it was after 5 years, I was done and started learning about theory and other things, instead of marching. How did it help me was that playing outdoors and learning how to project your sound is, I think, no doubt, one of the greatest gifts of marching all those years to anybody, especially a lead trumpet player. You're going to learn how to project your sound properly, play outside for most of the time, and you'll learn that, So drum corps was real good for me that way. Learning to play with others, of course, and all of that. But I'd say that the projection of sound is pretty key.
Yeah. Do you still follow drum corps?
Not at all. No, I have never seen a drum corps show since I marched my last one in 1974. I have seen a little bit on YouTube. I've watched, I think it's the Blue Devils do their warm up to my jaw just dropping. And my God, that's absolutely spectacular what they're doing today. Today kids audition for drum corps, and it's a big deal to get chosen. When we were marching, you'd take any warm body, you know, and it wasn't expensive at all to do this. It wasn't a big deal at all. It was just about becoming this core of brothers, and we put a lot of pride into being really good at marching and really good at music. And wait till you hear this, and we're coming. You better feel it. It was a really great bond that way. But it wasn't like today where it's like auditioning to get into anything else. It's very, very competitive today just to get in. And that level of perfection and pristine that they have today is dazzling. They march sideways, they march backwards. We never did that. We carried everything on the field and off the field when there was nothing on the sideline. There were no microphones or synths or, it was the reason we went overtime in '74 was because at the concert formation in the middle of our show, the timpani player had difficulty reattaching the timp to himself to march off. And he got stuck, and we were like, come on, man, let's go. He's like, and we went overtime, and it sort of sabotaged our show. But it's pretty impressive what they're doing today. The little bit I've seen of it, but I haven't followed it much at all.
Yeah, I feel like I'm becoming the grumpy old man, and it's like, that's not drum corps, with all the staging and sets and props. We
had a piston and we had a rotor, and that was it. You had 1 and 2, and the bugles were in G or in A or something, I don't remember, and you couldn't play in certain keys. If you needed a third valve, that note wasn't going to happen. They'd have to revoice it, and it was really a neat thing, man. I remember wanting to learn trumpet just to figure out what that third valve was for.
Well, I tell you, I've got a 3-valve trumpet, and there's still keys I can't play in. So,
Likewise.